Atul, founder of Paperwrite, is joining me in studio now. He's going to introduce us to his World Design Capital project that hopes to allow access to literature to everyone in South Africa. Hello.
Hi.
How are
Thanks for
you?
having me. Good, thanks.
Good. Now tell us about Paperwrite. You hope to introduce access to literature to people in the entire country. Now, how do you plan on doing this?
Yeah, well, after my 20 years in publishing, I realized we weren't actually getting books beyond about 2 million people in South Africa, and we needed a different way to deliver them. But the way that people really get their books, especially textbooks today, is that they photocopy them. And that's a hassle, it's technically illegal, and it means that there's this whole ecosystem of photocopying going on outside of the publishing realm. And we can actually use that to get books to people. So what we do is we turn print centers, print shops, copy shops into print-on-demand bookstores. We give them a library that they can print from for customers when they walk in. The publisher earns a license fee, so publishers are still making their money from the books they create. And you can now buy a book in tiny villages where there was never a bookstore before, but someone has a copier, printer, and an internet connection.
Wow, that seems very forward-thinking of you. How do people know that they can go to these copy stores and print a book, and how do they know what books are available at the copy stores to be printed?
Well, the copy shop themselves have to step up and do some marketing. If they join our network, which is free for them to do, they can then get posters and flyers and catalogs to put on their counter and so on. And we find that the stores that sell the most books are the ones that tell their customers that the service exists right there in their town. And that's, it's about just letting their existing customers know that the copy shop is more than a copy shop now.
Now, how long has this venture been in progress? How long have you been working on this?
I've been working on it for 6 years now. When it began, we were investigating ways to make particularly educational material more accessible to Africans generally and across the continent. And then a few years ago we got investment from the Shuttleworth Foundation, who've been incredibly supportive and enabled us to really build out the service over the last 3 years.
Okay, so over the last 3 years, how has it developed? Because it sounds like it's a lot of work to create a library and then get it into the copy shops. How did that process happen?
Yeah, it's a slow process. So we started by knocking on doors of photocopy shops and saying, do you guys want to help us out and be part of this process? But that went really fast. That was actually surprisingly the easiest part. Within a few months, we had 100 stores around the country. We now have over 200 who are able to print out books for customers on demand. The slower process was working with book publishers to allow us to legally put their books in our library. A publisher has to give us a license for us to be able to distribute in this way. That means lots of negotiations in publishing boardrooms. That's a slow process, but by now we have over 2,000 books in the library now, ranging from set works for high school and university, to study guides, to past papers for matric studying, and a whole lot of top South African novels as well.
Okay, so it's not only for educational literature, it's also for leisure novels.
Yeah, we didn't know who would use it the most, so we thought we better have a bit of everything, and we'll see where it works best. What we found over the last couple of years is that where we make the biggest difference is at undergrad university level and for high school study. So exam prep for matric exams is probably the thing we're used most for.
Now, what's the cost to print a book?
Varies hugely from store to store. So the way the costs work is that we charge the photocopy shop the license fee. That'll go back to the publisher and the author so that they earn their money from their work. Then on top of that, the copy shop decides how much they're going to charge just for the printing.
Okay.
So the copy shop is making their money out of printing. The publisher is being paid for the license fee. Printing varies hugely. Many of our stores charge only 50 cents for a double-sided A4 sheet of paper. That means you can print a 300-page novel for 75 Rand, plus the license fee. Generally, the book ends up about 20% less than you'd pay in a bookstore. It's generally black and white and ring-bound. It's not quite as beautiful. We call them print-outs of books rather than copies of books. But they work, and when you really need a book today, that's the quickest, easiest way to get it done.